Welcome to episode number 28. On today's show, throwing a wrench in existing culture, the meaning of boom shakalaka, and the importance of tenacity.
When you were little, what did you want to be when you grew up?
A car salesman.
Said no one ever.
Hi, I'm Patrick Hennessy.
And I'm Courtney Hennessy.
Welcome to the Be Less Typical in Car Sales podcast, a real-life account of the car business that breaks the perception of what it's like to be a car sales professional. During the show, we're going to take you into the lives and minds of those who have found success. So ignite your passion and get ready to learn effective hacks to streamline your success and boost your income.
So, is that your pitch?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
When I was a little boy, we had a car salesman that the whole family absolutely loved. His name was Chuck Ringgold. And he was a very successful car salesman in our little town. And he did all of the things unknown to me at the time that what I would say a successful salesman should do. He followed up, he had a relationship with the family, and he nurtured it, and we bought all of our cars from him as a family. So
I'm not sure if it's because of his family car salesman or just an innate love for sales, but from the time Mike Columbus was a little boy,
I always did want to be in sales from a little boy on, and I had an admiration for the car business.
So it's not surprising that after attending college, he finds himself bouncing around the car biz, working in sales at an assortment of dealerships, selling various brands. He does well, but then everything changes. After
about 10 years in the car business, I got invited to work on a special project at the University of Pennsylvania, which was totally unrelated to the car business. It was in healthcare. And so I took a sabbatical from the car business for about 20 years and worked at the University of Pennsylvania in blood management, blood economics, and that was quite an interesting career change for me.
I'd say car salesman one day, blood management and economics the next. For those of you listening who don't have a clue as to what blood management and economics is, you're not alone. We didn't either. So we Googled it, and at a high level, there's something called bloodless medicine. Apparently, a unit of blood is extremely expensive, so managing the use of it and practicing bloodless medicine can have serious economic effects on a hospital.
It's quite complicated. You have to sell doctors on the theory, and it was still, in essence, a sales position because you needed to get some very old school doctors on board with a whole new way of doing things.
Mike must be a good salesman because during his 5-year stint with the University of Pennsylvania, through effective management and bloodless medicine, the hospital went from spending $8 million in blood per year to $2 million per year. This job experience also opened the door to all sorts of adventure for him.
Invited to the Beijing Olympics and started a bloodless program in India and just traveled all over the world doing bloodless medicine and surgery.
When the adventure ends nearly 20 years later, Mike finds his way back into the dealership. He's interviewing for a sales gig.
Well, I have to say the first thing I heard was in my interview that things have changed in 20 years, but in all honesty, things hadn't changed in 20 years.
He's right. When it comes to the nuts and bolts of the sales process or the psychology of sales, heck, even the adrenaline you get when you close a sale, all of that is the same as it's always been.
Yeah, there's digital and there's other ways of doing things today, but I think the process is still the same as it was 20 years ago. That's my belief.
Today, Mike works for a dealership that he carefully hand-selected. He had a checklist of requirements.
And part of my criteria was, number one, my age. I didn't want to be jumping from dealership to dealership. I wanted to find the one dealership where I knew I could spend the rest of my selling days and work hard. Wanted to find a dealership who I thought would respect my way of thinking.
He was looking for a dealership to call his home, one that was going to fit his personality. He was pretty specific and selective about the culture, ethics, and ownership qualities he wanted to work for. He does his research, and when he's ready to commit...
So last November, I sent her a letter and said, I'm moving to Syracuse sometime in the near future. I'd like to work for you. And she sent me a letter back and just completely blew me off, which I thought was funny.
Well, she responded, so she didn't exactly blow him off. And lo and behold, 3 months later, he gets a call from the general manager, and within a couple of days, Mike interviews, gets hired, and starts his new job as a finance manager.
So did finance for 2 months, wanted to be in sales. They liked some of my ideas of things that I did in sales in the car business, some things with equity mining, some things with service. So I wanted to get back on the sales floor. So
this isn't uncommon. Running a finance department or even sitting in the finance chair takes a special person and temperament. It's not for everyone. Mike gets his wish about 5 months later.
They said, we like your way of thinking. We want you to implement some things that you're doing. We'll give you an office and you're free to run. And I was like, yes, this is what I wanted to do. So I started running.
To provide some context, the dealership Mike works for is a very traditional, family-owned and run operation. It's a dealership that fought its way into existence and is now in what you might call a security posture. They're standing strong, keeping things consistent. They're holding on to what's worked in the past, albeit the not-so-recent past, because that's what got them to where they're at today. Juxtapose that to Mike.
So just a little bit about me and my personality. I am a out-of-the-box thinker and doer. And I do have that reputation, but I'm not an adversary.
He pushes the limits and tests boundaries because he believes there's room for improvement. If he sees an opportunity or believes there's a better way, he goes after it. And kudos to the management team for putting someone in place that might challenge their way of thinking.
But recently I've ran into some roadblocks with personal branding and some things that I'd like to do that you're implementing or suggesting on your show.
This is to be expected based on the situation, and Mike gets that, but it doesn't deter him.
And I think that the digital age is frightening to them, and they're afraid to make some moves. And that's not necessarily a reason for me to get up and move.
Mike believes in his dealer. He believes in what they stand for. All he wants to be is the agent of change, to help evolve the way cars are sold and meet customers where they're at in today's marketplace.
My mindset was, where am I going to land that I can develop myself?
He goes on to say that he believes he's found that where he works. He felt that way when he started, and he still feels that way today.
There are a lot of dealerships and a lot of salespeople working in environments that are a bit restrictive, perhaps a bit old school. So let's take a look at a few scenarios on how one might promote a new way of thinking to help evolve the business. Here's the first.
I think it was earlier this past week. It was very slow. And our dealer principal brings their dog into the dealership, and we have on our webpage, we are a pet-friendly dealership. So it was extremely slow. I think it was Monday. It snowed. And I took a picture of the dog, and I put it on Facebook, and I said, the dog's name is Abby. And I said, Abby is very lonely today. Why don't you stop by the dealership and say hello? Well, it was a matter of 5 minutes or less. And the general manager was running out of the meeting. Did you put a picture of Abby on the internet? Did you put a picture of Abby? I said, yeah. She said, yeah, take it down right now. Take it down right now. I said, well, let's just talk about this. I said, well, what is the problem? You can't put a picture of Abby on the internet. Well, why? Well, because someone may come and kidnap her.
Okay, I'm a millennial, so let me just say that this situation has me a bit flummoxed. And I'm not sure how I would have responded had I been in Mike's shoes. Mike's response?
You hear what you're saying. No one's going to come and kidnap this dog. You have to engage your customers. You can't always put, I'm here to sell cars. I'm here to sell cars. I'm here to sell cars. You have to engage. And she's like, yeah, I get it. I know you have to engage. And I'm not trying to demoralize you. I said, but you are demoralizing me. And she said, I want you to be creative. I said, yeah, but if you're telling me to take Facebook down, you're not letting me be creative.
Ultimately, he takes the puppy post down. So what can we learn from this?
Ask before posting. Depending on your dealership's culture and progressiveness, here are a few things to consider.
Ask for guardrails. What can you do? What can't you do?
Dealers have a right to be concerned with what their employees are posting on social. What employees post is a representation of the brand.
Use stock photos or Photoshop.
There are some really funny, entertaining photos out there that you can leverage for social posts. Check out the app WordSwag, or like Frank Lopes mentioned in episode number 25, use Photoshop to enhance an authentic picture. If you remember, he took a stock image and Photoshopped a dog into the driver's seat with presents strapped to the roof.
Create a plan.
Ask your leadership or management team for a 30-minute meeting. Prepare and present your social media marketing plan. This doesn't have to be anything super fancy. Provide proofs of what other people are doing within the industry, perhaps even what some of your competition is doing. Compile your facts and plead your case.
Change isn't easy. Changing the culture within a dealership is especially difficult. There's a lot at stake. When we asked Mike what his reaction was,
not in a negative way. One is I know they like me at the dealership, so I know it's not personal. So I put myself in their shoes and just realized that they have a problem with this.
The digital age can seem overwhelming and scary, but if there's a will, there's a way.
So there's those struggles that are going on right now that, I mean, at least I have the freedom to express myself.
In addition to that,
as I've always believed, more than one way to skin a cat.
It's also worth noting that there may be underlying reasons the dealer is hesitant to adopt a digital or social strategy.
I understand why some people have the hesitation to allow that type of things those type of things to happen, because there are some loose cannons out there, right? And unfortunately we have different rules for different people, but it's very hard to regulate at times.
With the current legal landscape, there are a million moving parts to consider, and at the end of the day,
well, that tells me there's legitimacy for where their posture and position is. And I think that there's other ways for me to go about what I want to do with what you're teaching me how to do without just shoving it down their throat.
Because Mike doesn't take things personal. He doesn't get discouraged.
Which is also, again, the reason I contacted you, because I didn't want to say, boo-hoo, Jane won't let me post on Facebook and then just crawl into a corner and die. I think they're good people, and I'd like to continue doing what I can, and I think I can be very successful in this dealership.
About a week after the puppy post incident, he tries again. He posts an ad on Facebook, people start engaging, and he starts a dialogue. What he does next is key when working in a dealership that might be hesitant or new to social. Check out scenario number 2.
I took a screenshot of the ad, I took a screenshot of the Facebook response, and I took a screenshot of the message between me and the customer and sent that to my general sales manager, which he then forwarded to our marketing people. And the comeback from all this was, and then they said the general manager would be meeting with me. But the general manager, just in passing yesterday, said, if you want to post anything on Facebook, you got to send it to me first. Then I have to send it to marketing, and then they have to approve it. And I looked at him. He said, yeah, I know it's a pain in the ass. But at least it's better than nothing.
So he's making progress. And for those of you who've experienced working with advertising agencies or even just working in the corporate world, this approval process and slow turn is pretty standard.
My recent exposure at work has been to how advertising agencies actually function, and it astounds me how slow the process is. When we want to make a change, it has to go through like 11 people for them to approve something, and then if there's one change, it starts back at the bottom again, and it is so frustrating because we want to pivot now.
That's what I try to explain to Beth, is that it has to be spontaneous. It just can't wait a week. It can't wait days, and then the all the glamour is gone at that point. It's just so sterile. It's like, okay.
There's a happy medium. So if there's a required process for approval, no problem. Just be sure there are timing and turnaround requirements in place. For example, posts submitted for approval by noon will be reviewed and decisioned by close of business. Posts submitted afternoon will be decisioned by noon the following day.
And social isn't the only way to build your personal brand. As Mike said, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
But what I did do was I joined the local Chamber of Commerce earlier last year. Was successful in getting on the board of the local Chamber of Commerce. I'll be inducted this Wednesday night.
Nice.
So I think being civic-minded and giving back to the community is all very important.
Joining the Chamber is a great way to connect with people in your community. For other examples and ways to network, be sure to check out Nathan Hayes' feature on episode number 23. We'll link to it in the show notes.
Let's look at another scenario, an idea Mike's exploring, which in our experience has mixed reviews.
I want to wrap my car, and I've already paid for the wrapping and for the design. That's still a marketing decision to be made this coming week. So may prove to be successful, may prove to be a dud. I don't know. So it's not an argument that I'm dead set on winning this battle. If they tell me no, they tell me no. And I just have to go on to the next thing to reach my goals.
This is a testament to being tenacious. And in an email that Mike sent us shortly after this conversation was recorded, he wrote,
I quote, "In my quest for self-branding, I wanted to get my car wrapped. This was quite a different concept for my rather stoic dealership. However, after much debate, my car wrap was just approved. It didn't come about by cramming it down everyone's throat. It came about by continuous reinforcement on the benefit. My teammates on the floor supported me. My GSM went to bat for me. He knows that I have only one agenda, to sell cars. It's not about my self-promotion. It's not about a bigger ego. It's about a burning desire to sell cars."
He goes on,
After being called to a meeting to make a presentation to them, he's referring to the marketing team, the final question I was asked was, "What is Boom Shakalaka?" How do you explain what Boom Shakalaka is? I did by saying that it can't be defined by words, it has to be felt. It's that feeling I have every time I sell a car. It's the feeling my GSM has every time I sell a car. It's the feeling my teammates have when they hear me say Boom Shakalaka and they know I sold another car. And it's the feeling my customers have when they buy a car. Well, the frowns slowly turned into quite large smiles, and I got the okay to wrap my car. Signed, Boom Shakalaka, Mike.
Side note, wrapping your car can be effective depending on your market. To hear another car wrap perspective, check out episode number 10 featuring Laura Madison. We'll link to it in the show notes.
Now, let's talk a little bit about this Boom Shakalaka business.
From the very beginning, I do try to wow them. My mission statement is to create a wow experience for every customer encounter. And so from the moment I encounter someone, I try to supersede expectations and to go above and beyond what a customer is expecting, and handle that all throughout the process. I love to have fun. I keep it humorous. I keep the going back and forth unstressful. They appreciate that. And my moniker at the dealership has become Boom Shakalaka. And they just love seeing this serious 58-year-old salesman come out with Boom Shakalaka. But I think that's helped. I think customers want to have fun when they buy a car. They don't want to be stoic. They want to have fun, and I try to make it fun.
Having a slogan like that, I mean, it just takes the edge off, I mean, it's not just a slogan, it lightens the mood, and I think that's a really cool piece of the pie.
Boom Shakalaka. I've got to say, it's catchy and memorable. Just wait. A few days from now, something will happen and you'll be like, Boom Shakalaka. And when this happens, we'd love for you to reach out and tell us about your Boom Shakalaka moment or story. Catch us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram via our business profiles or our personal pages.
Another piece of the puzzle Mike is focused on is himself, but not in a selfish way. When we asked him if there were other obstacles he was planning to attack this year, outside of growing his brand and achieving his sales goals, he said no.
No, it's all within. It's my attitude.
He's making a point to focus on his own personal growth. He's investing in himself. Many of us are so busy trying to make a living, pursuing a career, raising a family, etc., that we forget to take time out for us. So I really like that Mike has actually thought through how he's going to invest in himself. Spoiler alert, we're going to talk about it on this week's Golden Nugget, and it has to do with walking on fire.
Mike is invested, he's committed, and in it for the long haul. Let's hear one last scenario.
I've tried to balance out what my managers think with what I feel is right. I had a post on Facebook. It was the last sale of December. I needed the sale. It was like a 2008 Honda Civic that a guy was buying for his son for Christmas. Wanted floor mats. The car didn't have floor mats, and the dealer's like, "We're not putting floor mats in. You're crazy if you buy floor mats. Don't do that." And I bought floor mats because in my mind, I think that's the right thing to do, because that's what Chuck Ringgold would have done to my parents when I was 8 years old buying a car. He would have bought them floor mats. So I still have that salesman in my mind when I was a kid, and the things that I remember him doing. And those are the things that I'm going to do and continue to do to build relationships with people and not look at the short term of what I need today.
Crazy that Mike's thought process and reasoning is based off his experience as a kid. watching his parents buy cars from the same salesman year after year. It's the right thing to do because that's what Chuck Ringwald would have done. This just goes to show that our history and our experiences are something we carry with us forever.
Previous experiences or situations do create the lens through which we see, and sometimes that's unfortunate. When we asked Mike what his biggest frustration is, he was honest and candid.
That the dealer doesn't trust what I want to do at this point. I want them to trust me that this is right. My sales managers trust me, and I said, just give me 6 months of unhindered freedom to do what I want to do, and I can't get that.
Trust is tough. It's hard to gain and easy to lose, and many times predecessors have created the environment we have to live in.
I wanted to be known that this is not in any way disrespecting the dealer principal. I wanted to work for this dealership. I'm happy that I'm at this dealership. So I don't want this to come across in any way as derogatory toward them.
And we hope those of you listening understand that. Our intention with every interview we do, with every spotlight we shine, is to focus on ways to evolve the business and our industry, and to provide insight on ways to create a less typical buying experience for our customers. If we don't share our experiences and talk about what's happening, how can we evolve?
It doesn't matter if you're a salesperson, a sales manager, or a dealer principal. We all play a part. The most important thing is that we listen and encourage one another.
Just look at the big picture. Don't focus on the day-to-day struggles, and just remember that the road leads to success when you do that.
Thanks for listening, and a special thank you to Mike Columbus for being a guest on the show. For show notes, go to belesstypical.com/028. You can find all previous episodes on iTunes, Stitcher, and our website. Wherever you listen, please be sure to subscribe.
2 items before we sign off. Number 1, please take a moment to share our show with your friends, family, and coworkers. Sharing is caring, and we appreciate your support. Number 2, if you or anyone you know are conducting car sales in a less typical way, please reach out to us. We want to hear your story, and there's a chance you could be featured on an upcoming show. Send me an email so we can connect. My email address is courtney@belesstypical.com.
Our theme song is by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. All episode editing and mixing is done by us, a couple of amateurs learning as we go.
Behind the scenes.
Courtney, do you have anything else you'd want to add?
I think I'm good.
Boom shakalaka.
I can't wait to say that.
Boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka's gonna walk on fire.
There you go. Walk on fire.
I can't wait to write that into the script.
She loves that part.
I do.
I wish you could see the smile on her face right now.
I'm glad.